Miami Navy Week. So, what Miami Navy Week, I like to boil it down to everyone knows what a Fleet Week is. We're Navy Week. So, Fleet Weeks, they bring the ships, but me, I'm just going to bring the sailors. What we do is I'll bring about 50 to 70 sailors with me. We will implant them in the community to do things like community service projects. We're going to get out into the schools, Miami-Dade County schools, and teach some lessons about the Navy. And we'll be that weekend, it'll be at the Frost Science Center. We'll be involved with the Coral Gables Arts Festival as well as at the Seaquarium. This all takes place January 23rd
Coming
through
up pretty soon.
29th. Yes, sir.
People want to know, why does a young man as yourself spend a career in the armed services, and what caused you to make that decision?
So I really didn't like school. I didn't want to go to college, and I saw a bunch of debt involved, and some of my friends still are paying off their debt, and I wanted to get right to work. So I saw the military, and I see it as opportunity. And a lot of things I'm going to say in the next 2 or 3 minutes when I talk about my naval story is opportunities. I went in with a high school diploma. I now have a bachelor's degree, and I'm almost done with my master's degree. That was my first opportunity I was provided. I wanted to travel the world. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and 18 years of my life I was in San Antonio, Texas. I wanted to see the world. I've now been to over 40 countries, another opportunity to travel. And lastly, just being able to work, get your hands dirty a little bit, being out to sea. I now love the aspects of the management, the leadership, being around people for what we say is morale or esprit de corps. And that's another opportunity is you get to embed yourself in a team, and it's a team environment. And that's something I also love. It kept me around.
So young men and women who are looking to get something more can join the service, whether it's the Navy. We hope that it's the Navy, but it might be another one. And they can really explore. So some of those commercials are real when they say, explore the world, see the world.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So within the Navy, what are some of the different positions that somebody might be able to choose?
So I actually love talking about this. You see an aircraft carrier, there's up to 5,000 people on that thing, and it's a floating city. Over 40 plus jobs that you can do on that. So you see the aircraft carrier and you honestly think, oh, the planes, you get the pilots. But when you boil it down, you also have pilots, the maintainers, you got the individuals that will signal. You have, we call them the arresting gears, or help them launch them off the aircraft carrier. You can do that. But when they come back, there's also recovery. So you have to recover the aircraft carriers. And that goes down when you get into the ship, people that drive the ship, navigators, oceanographers, and meteorologists who map the sea floor, help you navigate, people cooking the food. We've all got to eat, all the way down to the engineers who get the gas running through the ship to make it sail.
Inquiring minds want to know, on whatever ship it is, how many jets, if they call them planes or jets, are on that carrier?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would probably say, because I don't know, don't quote me on this one, at least 30 to about 60. And that's
amazing.
Jets, helicopters, and other aircraft that are launched from the carrier.
So they get on this, when it's down below, how deep does it, from the deck down, how far is that?
Oh, it depends on the ship. Some go 4 or 5 down. Some go
4 or 5 what?
4 or 5 decks down. And then you also have the decks above. So you got your basic level, your zero level, and 4 or 5 down, 4 or 5 up. It's fun.
So, Lieutenant, when the jets come back in and they're flying, when they hit that deck, how fast are they going when they hit that deck, more or less?
Again, this is me guessing because I don't know that one, but it's fast.
And they stop in a very short spread. How far is that? 1 block, 2 blocks?
Oh, so an aircraft carries about 1,050 feet, so 3.5, 4 football fields of length.
And they fly in, and by the time they're
done, they're
you
stopped.
Ever think about, is that hook going to really work?
Well, yes.
Of course. You count on it.
They're tested and tested and tested and tested, and they work.
It looks like it's quite a jolt at the end when that thing's there and you go, wow. I love watching it. I'm wondering, okay, is that the one that's going to go off? Mm-hmm. Right? But it's really tremendous. And 5,000 people can be on one of those ships.
Up to 5,000 people.
That is amazing. And there's enough food and medicine and all that stuff to keep everybody going.
Yes. So what happens at sea is it's called underway replenishment. So helicopters on the ship. You'll have another ship pull up, and they will throw fuel lines over to pump more fuel into the ship, as well as our helicopter will launch, go to their ship, pick up more food, more supplies, and more stuff that we need to bring it back. So depending on how long you are out at sea is how many times you have to do that.
In your experience, 18 years in the service, are there people with advanced degrees that say, "Listen, I'm going to go in the service"?
There are.
And I don't want to go into private business. I want to go serve the country and have those opportunities.
There are.
When you see that, what do you think when you see somebody that's been around that's probably 25, 30, 35, 30 years old that says, "I want to go do that"? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I love it. Again, some people I meet that are a little bit older when they come in is they kind of get in that grind. I don't want to say the corporate grind, but they get in the corporate grind, and when they meet somebody like a sailor on the street in 40 different countries, like I said, like get out, and that's what they're missing in life sometimes. They want that ability to go other places, to see the world, and at the same time give back to their country and their community, and that's where we can help you out.
So tell us what you do, your average week or your average month at this point of your career. What is it you do?
Oh, so I'm the lead planner for Miami Navy Week, like we started with, coming down January 23rd to the 29th. So my job is to gather assets from around the fleet and bring them into
When
the
you say
area.
around the fleet, what does that mean?
So, for example, here in Miami that week, we're going to have EOD operators. They're going to be out of Norfolk. We have some sailors from Miami that are off different ships. One I talked to this morning, she's actually coming from Hawaii to come back to be in her community, to give back and to serve for Miami Navy Week. We have some pilots that'll be out of Norfolk as well. There's a EOD diver with me right now. He's in Mayport. So we're kind of coming from all around the country to be together to serve in Miami and celebrate Miami Navy Week.
Okay, can we talk now about Miami Navy? What's going to happen?
So what's going to happen is, again, out in the community. We will be in schools educating, informing, and connecting with those students, let them know about the Navy, but specific. So Friday, January 27th, we'll be at the Frost Science Museum. You'll have performances by the Ceremonial Guard out of Washington, D.C. Silent drill team, they spin their rifles, they throw them at each other, they have the swords. We also have the Explosive Ordnance Disposal team. They will have robots that kids can come and play, drive them around. There'll also be diving in the aquarium. One of my favorite things about the EOD divers is they'll get on the glass and you can actually play tic-tac-toe with them. So kids love to play tic-tac-toe with the divers. You got the kid on the outside and you got the diver in the inside of the tank just playing tic-tac-toe.
So people, the service people that participate, they must feel honored and privileged to be able to do that, to be invited to do that.
They are, because I like to say they're serving as the face of the Navy. So we're not here. If you go to Norfolk or San Diego, it's a fleet concentration area. You look left, you look right, you're going to see a sailor. But here in Miami, you don't get to interact with us a lot.
Right.
So what we want to do is show you who we are, let you know about a little, like what we're doing in the fleet, where we are every day, and the importance to national security that we play. And you talk about tic-tac-toe on the glass, and you think, oh, how are we going to learn about that? Well, what the tic-tac-toe does is it gets that kid to approach you. Uniform, some people get a little scared of it. But if I can get you to approach me, shake my hand, look me in my eyes, you get to know the face behind those big aircraft carriers we talked about. You get to meet the individuals that recover the airplanes. And I can tell you fun facts that 90% of trade occurs at sea. And the Navy helps protect those vessels to get everything that you use every day. We help get that to you. And 95% of undersea cables. So this podcast right now, the Navy helps maintain those digital cables. They help to maintain them. And because of that, we can have podcasts like this
thank you very
every
much.
day. Oh,
Thank
yes,
you very
sir.
much for that. We have some photographs, and if we could look over that way and take a look at them. Go ahead and tell us about these.
Oh, so this is actually me. So we do Navy Weeks. There's 15 a year. We select different locations around the country, again, to connect Americans with their Navy. This one happened to be in Reno, Nevada. This was my last Navy Week I put together. This is a Boys and Girls Club, and usually the sailors will show up in PT gear, which is a yellow uniform. We'll see that in some of the other photos so they can play with them, get a little dirty and sweaty. I just happened to show up in my whites, and the kids love it. So I let them kind of play around with some of the stuff that we pin on our uniforms and just spend some time with them.
All right, Alex.
So here's an example, like community outreach. We like to get out and volunteer. So here's them in their PT gear. This was in Memphis, Tennessee, actually. And they just spent some time helping plant and preserve some of, I can't remember the exact location this was, but they were just planting some vegetables and helping that community outreach event. Now, again, a great one, Boys and Girls Club. Nothing better than give a little back to the kids. And so there they actually colored. They did some dodgeball. They played some basketball. Again, it's our way of get out there and just let them meet us and enjoy the day. So we also are going to bring a Navy band. So Navy Band Southeast out of Jacksonville, Florida. This is actually the band out of San Diego when they were at San Jose Navy Week in California. And again, they're going to play at the Coral Gables Arts Festival. It's top 40s rock band. So some people hear Navy band and you think like traditional marches, John Philip Sousa, but they're going to come, they're going to rock out. They're going to play some music that you can dance along to and just enjoy the festival. As I talked about the Ceremonial Guard Silent Drill Team, this is one of the ones everyone likes seeing. You get the bayonet as close as you can without hitting each other. They are professionals. So
Don't try this at home.
That's right. They won't hit each other, but they practice this day in and day out to do cool tricks, and it's a good show to see. This is just a picture I love. This was out of our Reno Navy Week. We were at a museum similar to Frost Science Center where we just got to be with the kids and try on some hats, share some stories, and just let them meet a sailor. And so this is very special. We also have the Naval History Heritage Command and the Constitution. So the Constitution is the oldest commissioned naval vessel. It's in Boston, Massachusetts, and they actually wear uniforms from 1812. So what this gentleman is wearing is their 1812 uniform, and what they'll do in schools and in all of our events, they'll wear this. They'll give kids a little bit of the history of the Navy, kind of way far back, what it's like to be on a wooden vessel. They'll tie some knots and just kind of use that to engage with the children.
There we go. So can we put up the scroll now? And so people can, they can inquire, there we go, on the website there to be able to get some tickets.
Yes, so that's the Frost Science Center. Yes. And if you want to know more about the Navy Week itself, it is outreach.navy.mil. Pretty sure that was up there earlier. And one thing I do like to remind everybody, because everyone loves Facebook, everybody loves Instagram and social media. So if you see a sailor, you take a picture, please post it, hashtag Navy Week. And if we find it, I'll be the one. I will go in there. I'll give you some comments, give you some likes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Help share our story, and I'll help share yours as well.
So one of the things that we recognize as adults is that sometimes when events occur in our life when we're younger that stick with us. And so whether it's a fireman or a policeman or armed service or a Navy in particular, I can see the kids running home, Mommy, Daddy, I met a sailor. Right? And that can be significant. So we're so happy that you're going out to the schools to be able to do that. So as far as opportunities, if somebody's a shy person, they're sort of recessive, they just don't know what to do, they're not doing too well in school, and they're looking for something brand new. What are some of the things how they could think before they went into the office to talk to somebody? Tell me about their mindset.
I would say going with the idea of what you want to do. There's a lot of jobs out there, and if you can go into an office and say, I really want to do this, they can help you achieve that goal. And so it's just that. It's just a goal. So if you're going with the goal of joining the armed services, as much as I love the Navy, I still tell people everywhere that if you can serve, you can serve. It doesn't matter which service you serve in, giving back is giving back. So please join the military. It's great. I just like the Navy myself, again, for that traveling opportunity. Army, Air Force, they do serve overseas as well. It's just they're a little bit more concentrated to the United States. You got to be on land to practice. Like if you're in the Army, you have to be out in the woods, you got to be out in the field. But for us to practice, we have to go out to sea. And when it's been a while since you've been into port, and say you're close to Japan, one of my favorite port stops, I actually lived there for 5 years, you have to pull in. You get a few hours to get some liberty, some leave out in those countries, and it just checks another box of the opportunity you get to have in the Navy.
So John and I want to know, do you get seasick?
It depends. So I have gotten seasick. We had just left, I want to say it was Australia. We were doing about a 14-day cruise back to Yokosuka, Japan, and we hit some seas, and it was pretty bad. It was almost had to walk on the wall. Yes, I did get seasick. You don't even want to eat. All you want to do is just go lay down, close your eyes, and just you let the ship rock you to sleep like a baby. But so I won't say I've never been seasick. 90% of the time I'm good though.
If people go into the Navy, they're not afraid of getting seasick. They're ready to deal with it.
Oh yes.
And so why would somebody choose the Navy versus, like, for instance, the Coast Guard if they wanted to be on the water?
Oh, so Coast Guard is more as the coast. So you're going to stay in the United States, protect the coast. I know they do
Coast.
go.
Sorry.
Oh.
Ding.
Oh, yeah. So I know they also, I did 3 months on a Coast Guard vessel actually once out in Southeast Asia. So coast, drug interdiction, stopping pirates on the coast. The Navy is forward deployed, and like our mission statement is warfighter, be war ready. So we're to project power, to deter aggression, and to be able to fight foreign wars while you have the Coast Guard protecting your coast.
So, Lieutenant, let's talk about pirates.
Okay.
What is that like? You go, there's some bad guys over there. What is that in your head? What happens, and what happens to the men and the women on the boat? How do they process that?
So thankfully, I've never had to see a pirate or never deal with a pirate. So,
I saw a movie once with
I,
pirates.
I don't have firsthand experience with it, but I can tell you from being on the ship, we train every day, whether it's training firefighting skills, because every sailor is a firefighter, whether it's working on helo takeoffs, whether it's search and rescue missions to recover somebody that we see overboard, or you just warfighting drills. We are training every single day. So again, just because I haven't seen it, I can tell you that we do train every day to be ready in case it does happen.
If somebody wants to go into the Navy, the typical term that somebody signs up for is how long?
Is 4 years.
And so let's say somebody goes in the service for 4 years and they go, I've served my country, I'm feeling better, I feel good, I've gained a skill that I didn't have before. Tell me about the entrance back into the private sector. What is that like for somebody?
Ooh, because I've only been in the Navy and I've been in for 18 years, I don't have experience with that as well. But so from my perspective, what I can tell you, I'm a little afraid of, I don't want to say I'm too mean, but and that it's not disciplined on the outside, but we have a strict regiment. And I'm afraid if I put that strict regiment on somebody else, they might not like it as much. Another thing I've noticed being in Miami is when I say things like earlier I said, oh, we'll be here at 0830. And some of the teachers were laughing at me because 0830, 1600. We use all these different jargon and acronyms. So that's one thing I know that I'm going to have to work on is the acronym soup, as we call it, and using those naval terms. I'm pretty sure people will eventually help me come back to reality, as I would say, but that's something I see is going to be an issue for me.
So frequently if somebody's saying yes sir too much to me, I said either you're in the service or police or you just got out of prison. So
Yes, sir. So I tell, this one's funny, and my mom, you'll appreciate this. So if I always say, like, I have to say yes, sir, because even from Texas, if my mom hears me calling you by your first name, she'll probably smack me all the way from Texas to remind me about my manners. So
and there is a certain protocol with that.
there is,
and we expect that as in the private industry, we expect that to happen for the service, and we get it, right? And that certainly is different than in the regular part. Lots of people use first names, maybe big companies, they call them sir, but for the most part, we like to see that. We like to see that organization, whether it's the police or the fire department or in the service. So right here in Miami, the closest real port for the Navy is where? How far from here?
oh, actually people stationed?
Yes.
There are some, which I know, some search and rescue helicopters in a small base down in Key West, I think. But could be wrong on that. I'm not the best on Florida, so Key West and like a diver up in Mayport. That's another close where there's some destroyers and some other individuals there.
So if people are making a decision which one of the services to go into, have Navy, Marine, Army, Air Force, Space.
I was say, don't forget the Space Force. They're new now.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about Space Force, what that means, and how and why people would go into that?
So what I know about the Space Force, and this kind of fascinated me, if you didn't know, GPS is kind of a thing that everyone's worried about right now because it has to do with satellites and farmers. Most of their equipment uses GPS to, get the corn or go pull the cotton out of the field. And I didn't even know that. And that was one thing I learned about the Space Force. So you think they're going to go to space and be spacemen, but it's, from what I understand, it's about helping the satellites and being able to protect that. So if you think the GPS helps the farmers gather the food, which puts food on the table for us, you would need somebody to protect that GPS and protect those satellites in case somebody wanted to try to hack in and hurt us that way. So that's kind of how I understand the Space Force. They're a little bit more, I don't want to say cryptology, but it's all about protecting the satellites.
So one of the things for sure, the average person, and myself included, has no clue about any of these services and the things that they protect for all of us. I think Coast Guard, I don't know, they go around, they go fish once in a while. And the Air Force goes out and they fly around. But it's a much bigger picture than that. How many people, more or less, are in the Navy?
Oh, over 300,000.
Okay,
That's
a bunch.
Officers, enlisted, government employees, like contractors, because we do have civilians. It takes a lot to run the Navy.
So let's talk about how many people are going to be here again from the Navy to celebrate this week.
So it's about 70 sailors. Okay. So again, explosive ordnance disposal with their robots. Also, if you really want to try on a bomb suit, they will let you try on the bomb suit. That's over 200 pounds. It's a little bit funny, too, because when they're in schools, they'll try to see how many kids can do push-ups while it's in it. It's a little tough. The Constitution, the sailors that talk about history, Naval History Heritage Command. We'll have some pilots from Helicopter Squadron 72. They can talk about flying helos and teach you about that, as well as the Navy Band and the Ceremonial Guard who will perform.
And what's the involvement of the Navy with career days across the country, or specifically down here? Are you familiar with what we do?
So one of the schools we're going to, when I first called them, they immediately called me back and said, "Oh, you're coming in January. Can you come next week instead? We have a career day." And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm sorry. We won't be there for another month." So I was able actually to give them to one of our recruiting offices, and I believe they actually sent a display and let some sailors come out. So if you're looking for somebody for a career day, there are recruiters in Miami, and they are usually available to help out if you would like them to join in.
Certainly, as COVID comes and goes, that it made a lot of people start thinking about their future things they wanted to do because of the uncertainty of life that we didn't really have to think about before, as I cough about it a little bit. So it's a good opportunity. People can go online, they can look it up, see careers available in each of the services. But again, why don't you tell us about some of the opportunities that you saw when you were younger and now you've been in the service for a while, and some of the things that you've been able to do.
Again, see the world. I think I was 19 when I pulled into Malaysia. And that was the first foreign country that I'd ever been to. I literally got on my first plane in 2005 when I flew from San Antonio, Texas to Chicago when they sent me to boot camp. And then from there, 19 years old, I got to see Malaysia. And amazing experience. And then from there, I moved to Japan. So I was stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii for 3 years. Again, you don't always get to live in Hawaii, paradise every day, similar to the beautiful weather you have here. I actually live in Tennessee right now, so it's much colder than it is in Miami. So my first 3 years I spent living in Hawaii. And I did get to deploy in Southeast Asia, such as got to go to Malaysia, got to go to Papua New Guinea, got to go to Australia, we got to go to Micronesia, and all those little islands down there. It's great experience and opportunity to travel if that's what you want. And from there, I actually moved to Yokosuka, Japan, where I spent 5 years. So starting at 18 years old, I got on my first plane to go to boot camp. And by the time I was 24, I'd seen over 20 different countries. I'd been halfway across the world, and I'd gotten to live in Hawaii and Japan. And I don't think a lot of my friends, they wouldn't become teachers. Nothing against you guys. Teachers, we need them. They're great. But as a teacher, you don't get to go see the world such as that. So if you're looking for adventure, I would like to say, the Navy's here for you, and we can let you see the world.
Okay. Lieutenant, we're going to wrap it up in just a minute, but let's talk again about the Miami Navy Week, what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and things that people are going to be able to see and do.
Miami Navy Week, January 23rd to the 29th, again Friday. January 27th, we'll be at the Frost Science Museum. We'll have all of our assets there, from divers in the tank to the Ceremonial Guard performing, Navy Band performing. You can talk to the Constitution crew and a bunch of other sailors we have there. On Saturday, January 28th, we'll be at the Coral Gables Arts Festival, and I've saved the best for last. So what you will see at the Coral Gables Arts Festival, we call it the Nimitz trailer. It's named after one of our aircraft carriers, the Nimitz. It is a STEM-related virtual reality trailer. This thing is huge. What you'll do is you'll wait in line, you'll go in, you'll put on some Oculus glasses, and you get to drive a ship. And then after you're done with that, they'll pull you out, and there'll be some sailors waiting if you want to do a pull-up contest, We'll have sailors out there. We call it like the Warrior Challenge. We like to call it sometimes. And so you'll be able to interact with us there. Again, you can drive some robots, but that stemmed.
Okay.
The virtual reality trailer is really, really cool. And that's something interactive for people to do instead of just listening to a sailor talk a bunch about the Navy. We let you kind of live it a little bit.
So, Lieutenant, we're going to wrap in just a minute, but I would like you to talk to a young person that's out there. Imagine that between the ages 17 and 23, and they're wondering what they should do with their lives. So why don't you look right in that camera over there and talk to them for a minute.
So I actually enlisted when I was 17. I had to bring my mom with me to sign me up and convince her to let me do that. At 18, I joined with the high school diploma. I'm now 35. I've been in the Navy for 18 years. Again, I have a bachelor's degree that I paid zero for. The Navy will pay for you to go to school. It really just takes your commitment and your time and your hard work to do the degree, but it's free. Do the degree and it's free. I'm working on my master's. That's almost done. I've seen over 40 different countries, and the entire time I've been in the Navy, I can't tell you how much it means to be with the other sailors and have that team environment. We all do have lifelong friends, but it's different when you're deployed for 5 to 10 months with somebody, and then you can still have those relationships for many years. So if you're looking at opportunities to see the world, if you're looking at opportunities to better yourself and get that education for free, and if you're looking at a way to give back and be in that team environment, the Navy is for you.
Lieutenant, thank you very much for your time, and thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for your years of service.
Of course.
And thank you for joining us, folks out there. Take